You really got to see this. I'm sure you're familiar with the Abrego Garcia deportation case, but things went off the rails when Jesse Waters and Jessica Tarlov clashed on the 5. Jesse argued that this was about national security. Jessica leaned into due process and compassion. Let's see what they said and what they didn't.
But it is also clear that Van Hollen going down to El Salvador did move public opinion on this issue. By 2-to-1 margin, people think that Abrego Garcia should be returned to the United States. And the reason that people are talking about that exchange last night with Trump and Terry Moran about the tattoos is that we were all assured that no one was dumb enough to think that it was actually said MS-13, but it seemed like Trump actually did think that. And there have been a number of experts on gang tattoos, like CBS, I'm looking at an article right now, that they spoke to, who said that these experts did not say that the symbols the judge talked about, the marijuana leaf and the cross,
then they're
and the
wrong.
smiley, then they're okay.
They're wrong.
Our gang expert is better than these
prosecuted these cases.
That's fine. Either way, public opinion has shifted on this issue. In terms of the kids, the problem with those cases are that those mothers did not get to talk to their lawyers. One of them who had the 2-year-old, this is not the 4-year-old who had cancer, was reported with the 2-year-old, had 2 minutes on the phone to talk to her husband to try to figure out what would happen to her American child. And so, yes, like any mother, they said, I will take my kid with me rather than leave them in a system where I don't know what's going to happen to them. I think we can all agree that you should be able to talk to your lawyer before you are deported, especially with your American citizen child.
Yeah, I get the point of the emotional angle. Claiming Garcia's a dad and what his child would have gone through is heartbreaking, but being a parent doesn't cancel out legal issues. This guy had 2 deportation orders and, according to reports, misrepresented his fears about returning to El Salvador. And there's more. ICE flagged him for MS-13 ties, and for anyone wondering, ICE doesn't take lightly to those. Tattoos, behaviors, and affiliations are real indicators in these investigations. And when you've got tattoos that have been flagged by ICE, it does mean a lot. Jessica's message was clear, quote, shouldn't we be more compassionate? And sure, compassion's important, but it can't be replaced by scrutiny. When we ignore criminal red flags in favor of feel-good narratives, we don't just bend the system, we break it. Let's see what Jesse had to say.
And I'm sorry, Jessica, I love you, but I don't believe anything you say anymore. You're wrong about everything. Every time you come up with these things, first he's a Maryland dad, then actually he does have tattoos that spell MS-13. Yeah, and then there's this other tattoo expert that you have. I thought we were supposed to trust the experts, right? And all these experts say this guy's a gangbanger, and you don't trust the experts. Let me ask you this. When a guy hangs out with MS-13 and gets picked up in a gang sweep, how is it that the MS-13 ranking gang members are allowing a non-gang member to hang out with them? Don't you think that's a little bit of a security risk, Jessica? That's like when, the feds raid a Gambino gambling den. And do you think it would be believable if some Italian guy was like, I'm not in the mob? Yeah, they're just letting random guys play cards in a gambling den with a bunch of mafioso. Use your brain, Jessica. And I don't even believe you're this 2-year-old nonsense.
The mafia comparison really caught my attention, and honestly, it makes a lot of sense. MS-13 isn't your average street gang. According to the Center for Immigration Studies, it's structured like an organization crime network. There's a hierarchy, so yeah, just being around it matters. When you're operating near a criminal network, even loosely, law enforcement can't afford to be casual. This isn't guilt by association, it's recognizing proximity to danger. And for the whole trust the experts thing, it has to be applicable in all cases. Some folks trust experts when it suits their narrative, but when ICE or DHS experts back up the gang claims, the validity of their claims is questioned. This selective trust is exhausting.
When you pick up an illegal, you don't know this, I'll tell you this for the first time. When you pick up an illegal and they happen to have their kid with them, they get a choice. Do you want to be deported with your child, or you can assign a family member or a guardian here in the United States to leave the child there? That's the choice.
Then came the emotional hammer, child separation. Some media narratives on this make it seem like they're separating kids from their families for no reason, but that's not how it works. When someone's arrested or deported and there's no guardian available, Child Protective Services steps in. It's not cruelty, they are ensuring the child's safety. Even after the 2018 child separation controversy, the Department of Health and Human Services had previously explained that these actions happen when necessary, not arbitrarily. So when Jesse reframed that he wasn't being insensitive, he was just pointing out the reality behind the headlines that difference matters.
Well, Jessica keeps on saying there's all these mistakes. First, she said this guy was picked up because he had a Bulls hat.
And then he has tattoos on his hand that spell MS-13.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Read the symbolism, Jessica. What are you, a gang detective? Cut it out. And then he's wearing paraphernalia that says the slogan for MS-13. And then he gets caught up in a gang sweep with ranking members of MS-13 as part of a murder investigation. Then gets pulled over and he's suspected of human trafficking. Then gets accused of slugging his wife twice, and she has it on video. And suddenly his name isn't Maryland Dad, it's due process. Mm-hmm. You transitioned pretty quickly, Jessica. Funny that you're into due process now, after bringing us the Me Too movement, cancel culture, and the Trump trials. You can't break into the country and ignore the process of coming here and then want a process to leave. You cannot cut the line to come here and then ask to be put in a line to go home. If you guys are going to be the defense attorneys for every criminal gangbanger in America, after you've allowed the gangs to invade and now say all of them need lawyers, it's going to be an eternity, Jessica, to get these people out of here.
Well, I understand the importance of due process and the concerns of mass removals and racial profiling are valid, but in this case, it's all a scare tactic. Law enforcement isn't knocking on random doors, they're following leads based on criminal records, deportation history, and gang intel. This wasn't some innocent man cheating by the system. There were red flags, real red flags. And when those get ignored in favor of emotion, we lose the ability to have honest conversation about public safety. Speaking of honesty, this isn't the first time Jessica's been called out for making non-factual claims. In fact, it got her into legal trouble. Just watch and see for yourself.
Tony Bobulinski's lawyers' fees have been paid by a Trump super PAC. That's as recent as January.
I would like to clarify a comment I made yesterday during our discussion of Tony Bobulinski's appearance at the congressional hearing. During an exchange with my colleagues about the hearing, I said that Mr. Bobulinski's lawyers' fees have been paid by a Trump super PAC as recently as January. What was actually said during the hearing was that the law firm representing Mr. Bobulinski was paid by a Trump PAC. I have seen no indication those payments were made in connection with Mr. Bobulinski's legal fees, and he denies that they were.
This guy, Tony Bobulinski, was a key figure in the Biden case. He revealed that he'd personally paid $500,000 in legal fees as opposed to it being paid by Trump PAC. This legal team demanded a retraction and filed a lawsuit afterwards. This explains why Jessica eventually had to walk it back live on the 5. Now, sure, everyone makes mistakes, but when you're constantly putting emotion before facts and only correcting after you're called out, it creates a pattern, and when the stakes are high, patterns matter. This debate isn't just about the deportation matter, it makes me think about the kind of country we're becoming and how we talk about these issues. Every time deportations rise, the narrative shifts. Suddenly, every deported individual is framed as a victim. Every gang affiliation gets softened, and enforcement itself is called inhumane. But people are starting to see how the media uses emotional appeal to override real concerns, and they're tired of it. The truth is, you can care about families and the rule of law, you can have a secure border and believe in fair treatment. Countries like El Salvador proved that getting tough on crime can save lives, so are we serious about that here? And if you're tired of seeing facts buried under feelings, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share this with someone who's only seen one side of the story. I break these debates down so you don't have to, and I'm just getting started. See you in the next one.